All right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises and the blood is due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, wa Malak Yahweh Shai. All right, we're about to dive into it. This Sabbath lesson is the second wilderness. All right. Now you got the first wilderness everybody's familiar with Moses and Aaron, Miriam, all of Israel being delivered out of the hands of Egypt, right, under the hand of Pharaoh, to be more specific. But you can have another wilderness, a whole new wilderness. And this might be new to Jacob. You might be looking at each other like, what do you mean? There's only one wilderness. We're going to pull out some precepts. We're going to pull up some pictures. We'll go through certain artifacts, right? We're going to show to you that there's going to be a new wilderness. All right, and stop thinking the wilderness is, man, I don't want to get too deep into it. We're going to start off with Exodus chapter 1, verse 6. Let's start from the beginning. Let's get the inception of this thing.
The book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 6, and it reads thus.
Right, to understand the new wilderness that's going to come, we have to understand the ancient wilderness. Because hold that real quick. You can go to Ecclesiastes 1 and 7. There's nothing new under the sun. What the Lord did in the ancient world is going to, it's like the things in the future is going to resemble the ancient world. You got it.
Oh, my bad. I went to Ecclesiastes. Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 6, and it reads thus.
No, I wanted that one too first. Ecclesiastes 1 and 7.
All right, this book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 7, it reads thus. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full.
Right.
Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again.
Go ahead.
All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be.
The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And there's what?
And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
There is no new thing under the sun. Bring out 2 Ezra 5 and 42, for sure. Nothing new is under the sun. You can't look at, I seen that. No, or I heard that before. No, or I seen that one was kind of new. No, there's nothing new under the sun. And in fact, when you read this precepts in the scriptures through the Spirit, you get discern, oh shoot, all of this whole life that we're living, this so-called society, this happened before. It happened during the time of Greece, during the time of Rome. Oh, I remember in Egypt, you had sodomites, and it was marching together. There's nothing new under the sun. You can go ahead.
Book of 2 Esdras, chapter 5 and verse 42, and it reads thus. And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring.
He's going to liken his judgment unto a ring. And a ring is circular, right? He said a ring for a specific reason, right? Go ahead.
Like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. So I answered and said, couldst thou not make those that have been made and be now?
Now that's it on that, right? But the point is this. His judgment is like into a circle. Everything is connected. That's something my grandfather would always tell us. Everything is connected, and there's no new thing under the sun. And in fact, even if you saw the movie, they'll tell you about regeneration is all connected. The same thing happens over and over and over and over again. You understand? So, the Lord moves in the same fashion. Or in fact, man moves in the same fashion of the Lord. Because we're made in the image of the Lord. And that's beautiful. But the point is, we're going into the first wilderness. And we're going to start with the book of Exodus, the first chapter. Right? We're going to skip here and there a little, but we're going to get the inception on how we even, got out of the wilderness. It started in Egypt. You start with verse 1.
Exodus chapter 1 and verse 1 in the read. Now, these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob.
See, every man in his household, they came with Jacob into where? The land of Egypt. Go ahead.
Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already.
See, now these are the protagonists. In every book, as I like to mention, in every book you have a main audience, you have the main characters. These are the main characters. They're mentioned at the beginning of the chapter. Typically, any other book, you'll see as well the main character mentioned at the beginning of the chapter. Go ahead.
In verse 6, and Joseph died, and all his brethren, in all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them.
Right, and this is important as well for later. Right, but the point is, Israel, we multiply like the sands of the sea, like the stars in the sky. Now, can you number the stars in the sky and the sands of the sea, and determine their numbers? It's impossible. Even 1/3. If I take my hand, put it in the sand, pick it up, and just take out 1/3, I still can't count it. That's how big we are as people. You got it.
Verse 8, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold.
Salakia, who is this king? You remember from the top of your head?
Oh, that's Moses right there. Moses the first.
Moses the first. Alright, so you gotta get into the history of this thing. You gotta know who's who and who's what. You know,
some may say the Hyksos, one of the Hyksos kings, but I'm led to believe it's Moses first, because he conquered the Hyksos, which is a foreign people that destroy his people. So when he seen these foreigners from the same land as Canaan, the Israelites, we gotta get them up out of here too.
That's right. Now this is, you gotta be historians in this thing. Alright? Yeah, the precepts are mighty. You have to use, other certain, tools to also further prove the point. Now to us, the precepts of the Bible is enough. It's more than enough. We have certain Israelites out there that just don't know any better. They don't know their nationality. It takes a little bit more for them to understand the precepts of the scriptures. So this is Bible Archaeology by Alfred Horace and John McCrae. This is page 18. Those scholars who take this 430th year time span to encompass both patriarchal period and the Egyptian sojourn, right? The patriarchal period, that's our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Scholars classify them as the patriarchs. That's true. Rather than only the Egyptian sojourn, this choice puts Joseph in the Hyksos period, when upwardly mobility in society was more possessible than had previously been the case. Additionally, Joseph rode in the chariot, and it even provides the precepts at Genesis 41:43. And chariots were not introduced into Egypt until the time of Hyksos, so on and so forth. That's the main point I want to bring out the land back off the brother. So you continue on, King, in Exodus.
Exodus chapter 9, and it reads thus. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them. Lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies.
Right, there was paranoia, right? They feared us. They feared us for a reason. Go ahead.
And fight against us. And so get them up out of the land.
Go ahead.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Python, and Ramses.
Right. Now, that's off. Because, again, Esau is moving the same spirit as the Egyptians. The Egyptians didn't wake up and say, y'all niggas are slavery. No, they did it subtly, man. They said, well, look, I know y'all Hebrews working over here in this area. We're going to set up somebody over y'all to help ensure that everything's running properly. And he did the same thing for the next city, in the next part, And after time and time, those taskmasters, they started to get more aggressive. Hey, pick that up. Hey, move that limestone. And what came next? Bywords. Come on, Israelites. It started getting worse and worse and worse. That's what Esau did. They came to the west coast of Africa. They didn't go it. Sometimes they went into other places. Majority of the time, hey, we got this and the third. We got gold. They kind of just throw them shekels of gold, kind of having them play in their fingers. Look at this. He kind of showed the gun. You don't want to play with it. And that's how they got us, man. Esau is a subtle creature, even as it reads in the book of Genesis. You got a point? Man, a precept.
Nah, you keep going in Exodus.
You got it, King.
Verse 12, and it reads thus. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage.
See, and it tells you, at first they set up the taskmasters, and then it got worse. With much rigor. Can somebody get on the computer about this, sir? I want to Google that word, rigor. They don't know. Jake's not gonna know what rigor means. So get started. You know, yeah. You said what?
It don't mean white.
Right. Rigor don't mean white niggas. Like the brother said.
That's mad.
You know, you gotta look up words in this thing. If you don't know a word, just simply Google it. You know, pull out your thesaurus, your dictionary. You can't be too prideful in this thing.
God. Made them serve with rigor, man. Right.
So this is the definition. See it on the screen.
And again, we got to bring out the first wilderness to understand the second wilderness because it all repeats itself.
Yeah. That second wilderness is going to mirror the first in so many ways. Bear with us. You trying to read that one more time, though? While we get this?
And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar, and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor.
Was with rigor. The quality of being extreme, thorough, exhaustive, and or accurate, severity or strictness. So again, he wasn't saying, can you please move this stone to put up the python and Ramses? No, they beat the hell out of him, man. In the movie, what is that? Prince of Egypt. You know, that's an artist's depiction of what happened. That's a visual. It was kind of whipping the old man. They didn't give a damn how old, how young. If you was pregnant, if you wasn't putting big rocks to the little rocks, you're gonna get whipped and or put to death.
Image too. Look up the images of Israel and Egypt. Israel and Egypt. Like they depict this on their walls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Israel and Egypt. And go to images. Let me see if it pops up. Scroll. In fact, put Israel slaves in Egypt.
Put hieroglyphics.
I just put Israel slaves in Egypt. Some specifically on a specific image I want to pop up that's on the wall. Might be at Thutmose, one of the rulers. Yeah, you can see those them giving bricks down there. You see them getting bricks right there. Like that's not image. Scroll down. That's them coming in Egypt, but you see them getting bricks right there.
That's what kind of go up a little? I'm sure.
You see them putting bricks in right there. They naked.
Yeah, go right. That one?
Yeah. That's not the one I specifically wanted, but that is an image that they got them as slaves.
I'm gonna scroll down and see what's more they got down here. They got slave right here, slaves.
And notice they put American slaves right there. When you Google Israel and Egypt. But yeah, that's us working with that brick right there.
That ain't too much.
So I want a specific image. I want to say it's Thutmose the third. So give me a second. Let me look this up. He had it in his clutches. Oh yeah.
Put in Egypt's ways.
Yeah.
Put Pharaoh. Egypt's ways. And you know what's sad? You have a lot of people say that slavery didn't happen.
Oh, that's mad.
Scroll down. It's on the walls. What do you mean?
And that one right there.
Down there.
One in the left corner.
Oh, I got
Click that. Open it. Click it.
This one right here.
Yeah, click it. That one right there. That's on their wall. That's Pharaoh grabbing up the Hebrews by their head.
It's a
Use both fingers and you can shift over.
it's a for figures in the Hebrew Bible have
Scroll closer in. We just want the image.
Take both your fingers and like.
Yeah, yeah, he did it. See
trying
that?
to move over though.
They holding them in their clutches, bro. See that? Got them in their clutches, man. Like, just to show the bondage that they had Israel in. I got a precept. I got a precept in Exodus chapter 5, in verse 10.
Look at Exodus chapter 5 and verse 10, and it reads thus.
Right?
And the taskmasters of the people went out, and their officers, and they spake to the people, saying, Thus saith Pharaoh, I will not give you straw.
Right, because they was giving them straw to actually create these bricks. Right, but now he's saying we ain't gonna do it. Right, keep reading it.
Go ye, get you straw where ye can find
Right,
it.
you gotta go find your own straw. Right, however you can get it. Read.
Yet not aught of your work shall be diminished.
But all the same work you have to do. Right, so the same, whatever amount that you had to reach, what's that? The quota that you had to reach, you still gotta reach the same quota by the end of the day. Even though we're not giving you the straw, so we're making it harder. Right, so that's the kind of hard bondage that the Egyptians was doing to the Israelites, man. Right? And he said you gotta go all throughout the land and hurry up and find straw and then build up. Because that's even in, I believe, 12 years a slave, when they didn't bring enough cotton, or they get whipped and stuff like that, or sold to another plantation. Right, it's the same kind of thing. You had a certain quota that they wanted you to reach, so they'd make sure you're doing, you know, whatever work they wanted you to do.
Right.
So that's just an example of the hard bondage right there. That's all I had on that.
Bible Archaeology, again by Alfred Horeth. This is page 80, and it reads, tomb paintings dating to the reign of Thutmose III. The scene depicts the various stages of brick making, from mixing water and mud to forming the mixtures and mold, and then setting the brick out to sun dry. Finally, the bricks were gathered for use. Sometimes mud of such consistency that straw does not need to be added, but usually it is required. And then you get to the point, as a binder to keep the bricks from breaking as they dry. Exodus, it tells us, Exodus, the 5th chapter, records that the Egyptian taskmasters stopped supplying straw to the Hebrews, but they did not lower the demanded number of finished bricks. And an Egyptian text dating later in the New Kingdoms informed us that 50 bricks per worker then considered the daily quota. See that? So if you don't believe in the Bible, history will tell you, man.
That's right.
History literally goes just throughout the story, brother. No, the Bible's buried there. Like, nasty white man with spectacles. He wrote that. No, Israelite man wrote this, man. Moses, our forefathers, Baruch, so on and so forth. They wrote the scriptures through the Spirit. That's right. So if there's been any confusion, well, I don't know, can you prove that slavery happened to Egypt? Hey, we're bringing it out through the Spirit. Right here a little and there a little.
I'm trying to find a precept. I got a precept, right? Because that's when we get into the wilderness. So let me get Acts 7, right? So you got slaves in Egypt. Right, now let's get Acts 7 and start at the whole thing is kind of start at verse 29.
Book of Acts, chapter 7 and verse 29, and it reads thus.
Right?
Then fled Moses at this same, and was a stranger in the land of Madian,
Right, that's really median, right? Read.
where he begat begat 2 sons.
Right, Moses fled when he was 40 years old from Egypt, right? Because he killed an Egyptian, so he was a wanted man. Right, keep reading.
And when 40 years were expired,
Right, so now he's 80 years old, read.
there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai
Right,
an angel of the Lord in a flame of fire in a bush.
right, and that same angel, right, when he spoke to Moses, he told him he gonna bring his people to where he was at in the wilderness of Sinai. Right, keep reading.
When Moses saw it, he wondered at the sight, and as he drew near to behold it, the voice of the Lord came unto him,
Right,
saying, I am the God of thy fathers, the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Then Moses trembled and durst not behold.
right,
Then said the Lord to him, Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place where thou standest is holy ground.
right.
I have seen the affliction of my people, which is in Egypt.
Right, and we're in Egypt right now, which we're gonna touch on. Right, so you see the affliction of the Israelites, which you just read there in Egypt. Right, read.
And I have heard their groaning, and am come down to deliver them. And now come, I will send thee into Egypt.
Right, he said, I'm gonna send you into Egypt, right, to deliver my people. Right, that's what Moses did. Right, keep reading.
This Moses whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did God send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angels which appeared to him in the bush.
Right, and that's through the Spirit, because, Deuteronomy 18:18, he's a prophet like unto Yahweh Shai. They refused Yahweh Shai, but he was sent to be a ruler and a deliverer. Right, keep reading.
He brought them out. After that he had shewed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt,
Right,
and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years.
and where?
And in the wilderness 40 years.
Right, so he delivered them, right? Plagues, he split the Red Sea, right? They walked on dry land, and they was in the wilderness for 40 years, right? Read that next verse.
Verse 37. This is that Moses, which said unto the children of Israel, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear.
Right, that's talking about Yahweh Shai, because he's that mediator, he's that deliverer, with the children, the other children of Israel. Right, so I'm bringing that out to show that as we were slaves in Egypt, Moses redeemed the Israelites out of Egypt. Right, and that's how we ended up in the wilderness. And it's the same as today. We're in Egypt, moaning and groaning, and the Lord's going to send his son to deliver us out of Egypt and place us in the wilderness. That's why we call it the second wilderness. All right? That's the whole purpose.
And the wilderness is basically like the building block for our nation. The kingdom of heaven ain't just gonna come up in a day. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get built up. Get the prophecies. In the Bible and the scriptures where it says the nation's gonna build our kingdom. But we gotta go into the wilderness first. So our people, we gotta stop thinking of us being in the wilderness as a bad thing. That's us starting our nation.
John, that's the same thing it was with Israel. Like they had to dwell in the wilderness, they had to go through the wilderness so they can take out, the Canaan out the nation, man. Right? So they can take them out the nation and build our kingdom up the same exact way. So everything gonna happen the same way. And real quick, I want to get a precept in Exodus. I get Exodus, right, chapter 13. When I was probably 12. Exodus chapter 12. So this one thing we're gonna do once we leave Babylon. Get to the point, verse 35, 12 and 35.
Book of Exodus, chapter 12, and verse 35, and it reads thus. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment.
Right, read.
And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians.
Right, they robbed the Egyptians. Right, so when we leave here, we gonna also rob these young Americans, man.
That's
These
great.
nations. Right, we gonna take their riches. right? That's how we was able to build the tabernacle in the wilderness, right? With all the gold and all the raiment that they gave unto it. Like, how was we just slaves, but you had all these people able to give all these different things to melt down and build the temple? Because simply we spoiled the Egyptians, man. That's gonna be the same thing. So we didn't just, the Lord didn't just put us in the wilderness, just all out of shape. And man, we actually had gold and raiment, man. Right? So he ain't just leave us on the bad note. But Israel, right, they wanted to murmur and complain because they didn't want to go through that, that low point to get to the promised land. Right? So they murmured to go back to the wilderness. It's gonna be like that in the next wilderness. You have people scoffing to go back to America. Like, I miss Wi-Fi, man. I miss Instagram. Right?
I got a quick precept too.
Yeah.
But Deuteronomy 29 verse 5.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 29, and verse 5. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes are not waxing old upon you.
What the Lord say?
Your clothes are not waxing old upon you.
So our clothes ain't even wax old, man. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is really with us, you know. You got it.
And thy shoe is not waxing old upon thy foot.
Right? So we had clothes, man. We had good clothes. And it was up to date, man. You know what I'm saying? 40 years in the wilderness.
That's a good point.
That's right. The Lord was supplying us, man. Right? And our people still find a way to complain. You know what I'm saying? You got it.
I got a quick precept. Nehemiah 9:21.
Nehemiah 9:21.
This is the book of Nehemiah, chapter 9, and verse 21, and it reads thus. Yea, 40 years didst thou sustain them in the wilderness, so that they lacked nothing. Their clothes waxed not old, and their feet swelled not.
See that? Yeah. Mighty precept. You got a precept there, you can expound on that.
Bring out Exodus chapter 15, verse 22. So we touched on all the times where the Lord looked out for us in the wilderness. All the times. Before you get that, can you get Exodus 14 and 14, Rob, for sure?
So the book of Exodus, chapter 14, and verse 14. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace.
The Lord said that, and they all forgot about it later on, as you can see to read Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. They end up forgetting that somewhere along the line. Even though the Lord looked out for them this time and this time, we're literally bringing out the accounts. We're reading the accounts of our forefathers. Therefore, it should give you faith. It should be a faith booster. If you're ever feeling down, low in your luck, so-called, or you're just going through hell, I don't know how I'm going to do this, I'm real kind of getting mad. Hey, here are the accounts where the Lord looked out for your forefathers. So he's going to look out for you as well, as long as you keep the commandments and the faith. So with that, you can go to Exodus, the 15th chapter, and the 23rd verse.
Exodus chapter 15 and verse
22.
Exodus chapter 15 and verse 22, and it reads thus. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water.
Right? Hey, and guess what? This is what you call a trial. The Lord didn't have to say this. We know this is a trial. You go 3 days in the wilderness with no water. This is the Lord testing you to see if you still want to be faithful. He just delivered you out of the hand of your enemies. You was building a brick and mortar. You have to find your damn straw. He delivered you all of this. And you still want to see if you're going to have faith in him. You can go ahead.
Verse 23. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord shewed him a tree, which he had cast into the waters. The waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them.
See that? And the Lord made the water sweet by that tree. You can read about that in 2 Ezra, the 1st chapter. You continue.
and said, If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee.
See, this is the test. This is the Lord showing Israel, this is what you can get if you keep my commandments. This is a lesson. Go ahead.
And they came to Elim, where were 12 wells of water, and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters.
And he started complaining afterwards, as you continue reading throughout the next chapters. But that's the point. We're showing you the miracles that the Lord showed forth Israel. So we see all these miracles in the ancient wilderness. Guess what's going to happen in the new wilderness? The second wilderness. All of these similar miracles. And Jake's still going to murmur. They're going to pat their pockets thinking they got their phone on. It's not on you, up. There's no calling DoorDash, no calling 911, no fire department, no calling up your home, your rib. That's gone.
The second word's gonna be worse than the first.
That's right. And you're gonna be finished because you're so comfortable. In this society, Jake is comfortable, man. You can literally call up somebody to grab you food. That's Grubhub. That's comfortable. You got your little snuggie. You got your little man's den. You got your, your lights, your LED lights. Playing 2K all night. This is a comfortable lifestyle for you, Jakes. You're pampered.
And Jake gonna actually have to work for his money.
That's right.
Like actually work for it. Not just have the money and you just bob the woman get,
Come here, baby. I got this money.
You know what I'm saying? You
Like
gonna actually have to do your thing.
Hey, and when we're gonna start appreciating the fishermen in those days?
Exactly.
A hunter.
100.
Brothers that kind of remember the precept, oh, we can't eat this. Get Crawford put on his leg.
Not just little boys.
Yeah. So, your Ferraris and your cars, they're moth eating. The Lord don't give a damn about that. So forget about it. So Jake, you gotta get out this comfortable mentality,
Jake used
I'm
to
so nice and
Tempur-Pedic
cozy.
bed.
Yeah, Tempur-Pedic bed, kind of I'm calling up tomorrow. No, they don't call up in the wilderness, man. You're gonna be working every day,
Ain't no
except for Saturday.
He's scratching his belly.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna eat.
in your mind, you keep telling yourself, let me go to the refrigerator. Oh, there's no
Ain't
refrigerator.
no refrigerator, man.
You're like, oh, I forgot.
Fire.
Yeah,
I got a point to make too, and just to show one, that's one way it's gonna mirror the wilderness this time around. But get Exodus 14 and verse 8 real quick.
The book of Exodus, chapter 14 and verse 8.
Because first of all, we're gonna be in Egypt. Plagues are gonna hit. Matter of fact, get this real fast. Get second Esdras. It's at 15 and 8. 15 and 10.
Book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15 and verse 10. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt,
Right?
but I will bring them with a mighty hand.
Right? He's gonna bring us with a mighty hand, talking about Egypt. And this is Ezra. This is after, hundreds and hundreds of years after Moses, right? Read.
But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm,
Right?
and smite Egypt with plagues,
And do what?
and smite Egypt with
He's gonna
plagues
smite Egypt with plagues, read.
as before.
He said, as before, right? Because Egypt, America, is going to get smitten with plagues as before. And we're seeing the plagues hitting America right now, right? So the Israelites are going to see the plague, and you're going to see the deliverance, go to the wilderness. And what happened right after we left the wilderness and Egypt? Right after we left, do anybody know what happened? What was one of the first things that happened when we marched out the wilderness?
We marched out with a chariot.
Right? With brothers know it.
The first thing we marched
What was the first thing that happened? When we got out the wilderness, what's the first thing that happened?
murmuring is the Lord.
Nah.
You talking about like,
When we first left
you
Egypt,
talking about like,
And God,
It's my
marched
enemy.
out. God.
so we marched out of Egypt. We was at the waters. What happened?
it closed up upon the Egyptian army?
Well,
Firstborn?
They wanted
let's try to go a little bit before that. Let's get
Firstborn got
Exodus.
Israel.
They said they
Let's
wanted
get Exodus 14.
They forgot.
Verse 8.
They forgot that.
We'll bring it out.
The book of Exodus, chapter 14 and verse 8, and it reads thus.
Right?
And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of
He
Egypt.
did what?
And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Read.
And he pursued after the children of Israel.
That's the first thing that happened. We left Egypt after all the miracles. And the heathen Pharaoh, he still tried to attack Israel in the wilderness. He tried to attack him. But guess what's going to happen in the next wilderness? When we get to the wilderness, the nations are going to try to attack Israel in the wilderness after they see the chariots, after America gets destroyed, after blacks and Hispanics get delivered in UFOs, man, so-called. They gonna literally see this and they still go attack. Right? We gonna bring it out real fast. Like real fast, we gotta prove that. Get Exodus. So I can get Ezekiel. I get Ezekiel 38 and 8.
It's like,
Right?
I was just saying, didn't they? I thought most of them died off in the Red Sea.
The Egyptians got drowned in the Red Sea.
So who are these people?
Right? We talking about that's gonna attack us in the
Pharaoh,
wilderness.
yeah, who was that?
No, this is afterwards. This is before the Red Sea. They
This is
tried to
before the
attack
Red
us,
Sea.
and he split the Red Sea. and they got
Oh,
drowned.
that's why he split. Okay, okay.
Book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and verse 8, and it reads thus.
All right.
After many days, thou shalt be visited.
Right. After many days, we gonna get visited. Read.
In the latter years, thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword.
Right. What land is brought back from the sword? That's talking about Israel. We brought back from the sword. We got redeemed. Right. Read.
And is gathered out of many people.
And it's what?
And is gathered out of many people.
Right. Because we're gonna get gathered from all these different nations. Right. We're gonna get gathered from all these different nations in the last days. Right. And dwell in the wilderness. Right? Matter of fact, let's get a couple precepts on that. Get Ezekiel 20. Get Ezekiel 20,
35.
and I want 30, going to that? We can keep that for now. We can keep that for now. We'll touch back on that. So we got gathered out of many people. Right, keep reading.
Let me go back.
Yeah, 38 and 8. We'll touch on that in just a second.
Book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and 8.
Northern.
And is gathered out of many people
Right.
against the mountains of Israel,
Right,
which have been always waste.
right.
But it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them.
Right, we're gonna be dwelling safely, right, in the wilderness, right, read?
Verse 9. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. Thou and all thy bands and many people with thee.
You see that? That's gonna be these other nations. Right, jump to verse 5 real quick. Jump up to 5, just to show the nations this is gonna be.
Verse 5. Persia, Ethiopia.
Or so I can jump to verse 2.
Verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him.
Right, it's talking about the Russians. Right, it's talking about the Russians, because Russia's gonna be that last kingdom standing. Right, so Russia and its allies, right, jump to verse 5. Read.
Verse 5. Persia.
Right, that's talking about modern day Iran. Look it up. They got, they actually have the relations, Russia and Iran relations. Right, keep reading. They
Ethiopia.
have relations with Ethiopia, read.
And Libya.
And Libya. They're all right now allies with Russia. You can look it up, right? Keep reading.
With them, all of them with shield and helmet.
Right, so all these nations, Russia and its allies, they're going to attack Israel in the wilderness. And the Lord will destroy them the same exact way that he did in the sight of our people with Pharaoh. But the thing with that is, what's so bugged out is, they still started rebelling. Right, they were scoffing about water, being bitter. And they just seen all these plagues and the nations attack them, and he drowned them. Same thing, you're gonna see America go get destroyed. You're gonna see nukes hitting America. You're gonna get delivered in a so-called UFO. And they still go scoff even after seeing the Lord wipe out all the Russians in their face.
I got a quick precept too, man. You wanna get yours first? I wanna get, go off the brother point, Zephaniah 3 and start at 17. Or you can start at. Go to Zephaniah chapter 3 and start at 18.
Zephaniah 3 and verse 18 and reads thus. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly.
Like the brother was going to, like how the Lord gonna gather us You know, that's prophecy. The Lord gonna gather the 1/3. You got it.
Who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden?
Continue.
Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get them praise and fame in every land.
So imagine all the nations, they're gonna see our deliverance. Right? You got to continue.
I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all the people of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Lord.
So that's how the Lord is gonna save us from captivity, slavery. The Lord is gonna deliver us via the chariots. Right? How are we gonna get praise and fame in every land? Because all the people they're gonna be seeing the chariots. It's saying the scripture is gonna be a mountain that's gonna be huge, humongous. And they're gonna be seeing people getting beamed up. You know? But the point is that to show you that's the Lord, because the Russians, they gonna see that and they still gonna attack us in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? So that's a damn shame.
And you gotta think realistically. If you see a so-called alien invasion, I mean, they gonna be fighting in the Middle East. They gonna stop immediately and kind of fight this new threat. Like, that's just realistic.
Exactly.
You know,
Thinking on the army military level.
like what the hell? We gotta destroy this this so-called outer earth threat.
You got it.
Right, just like in Egypt, right? When they went to go fight them after all those plagues, right? Like he was saying, they gonna do that, but the Lord gonna put a spirit on wisdom of Solomon.
I gotta put point two. Remember when we was in the wilderness, we was getting out of the wilderness. All the nations knew that we was getting out of the wilderness, and they was shook as well.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, that's actually a good point. In Joshua, they said we heard of the fame of the what the Lord did for you.
So that's gonna happen again.
Yeah, so all the nations go know it's still fighting.
But it's wisdom of Solomon 19:4, right? Because he put that spirit on them to forget everything that happened, basically, to go fight them. And that's just what Russia gonna do.
Yep, you gotta read the whole chapter of 38. It say you gonna put hooks in their jaws. They gonna have an evil thought,
Verse
and they
4.
gonna get destroyed.
Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19 and verse
I said 4.
4.
Yeah.
For the destiny whereof they were worthy, drew them unto this end, and made them forget the things that had already happened.
See that? So they drew them to this end, man. Because just so the Lord can show his power in the sight of everybody. He already destroyed Egypt, but now let's destroy the army, man. Like you reading?
That they might fulfill the punishment which was wanting to their torments.
See that?
But he already did that with Pharaoh. He hardened Pharaoh heart, so he gonna kind of harden the Russian heart.
Then he'll be like, man, we gotta attack them. I know they just decimated America in an hour, but we
war
gotta,
came back.
but we gotta do something about it.
You got a question?
No, I was just saying, you gotta know, like, if they fighting against their creator, of course they gonna fight you. They fought against y'all outside the angels. Yeah. I'm saying, it's pride.
We got Revelation 20 and 9.
Boy, oh boy.
Go to 8.
You said it 9 real quick.
Revelations 20 and 8. 20 and 9. Salaki. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city. And fire came down from Yahweh out of heaven,
Right, Revelation goes in and out of time. Go ahead.
and devoured them.
And it devoured them. It tells us we're gonna go to the second Edge 13 and 3.
Second Ezra 13 and 3. See that? That?
Book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13 and 3, and it reads thus. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice...
Who was those thousands?
That host of that.
Hey, the armies of the Lord.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire.
Go ahead.
And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men, out of number, from the four winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea.
He didn't scuba dive out of the sea. It's talking about the waters in the heavens, right? He came through the heavens, right? And that great multitude, four winds of heaven. You go back to Revelation 28. It's like 28. It's going to tell us. We're going to back up with this. We're going to get back up to Ezekiel 38. Or we already did, but you got it.
Revelations 20 and 8. That's right.
Done.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
Right. Go ahead. You go back to Revelation. It's like in 2 Ezra 13 and 5.
Second Ezra 13 and 5.
Bible connects so beautifully.
And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men, out of number, from the four winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew upon it.
Right.
But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not.
Things big. Go ahead.
God, so I just want to make a point on that. Ezra, he doesn't realize what he's looking at. A big gigantic UFO. He just said it looked like a mountain, but I couldn't see where it came from. You know what I'm saying? So he basically seeing the chariot. Just wanted to make that point.
And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight.
They was afraid, yet they fought. Go ahead.
They gonna be trembling, man. They gonna be shaking, man.
You gotta fulfill that prophecy.
And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath.
That's talking about the chariot blast, man. Yeah. Right? They ain't talking about Yahweh Shai gonna be a breathing dragon, man. Right?
Right.
Just talking about the chariot blast, man.
He's not capable.
You
So-called
about that
laser.
and Micah chapter 4 verse 13. That's a so-called laser, man. And it desecrates you, man. Turn you to ashes, man.
That's a constant.
Tie your ass to a pillar of salt.
And out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up everyone, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid.
And who wouldn't be afraid, man? You see something big as a actual mountain, just
Shooting something, milk and everything, not smoking.
Independence Day.
Damn. Right, yeah. That's destruction.
That precept on that.
Bring up that
Yeah,
precept.
precept too, right?
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 verse 21.
Damn.
23.
That's deep right there, man.
Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, and verse 21.
Put that.
Then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad.
The what?
Then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad.
That's how the chariots. You said what?
It's like,
Oh, that's how the chariots laser beams are, man. It's like a thunderbolt. Right, you guys.
And from the clouds,
From the what?
and from the
From the
clouds,
chariots. Bring it up.
as from a well drawn bow, as a well drawn bow, shall they fly to the mark.
Shall they what?
Shall they fly to the mark.
They ain't gonna miss, man. They ain't gonna miss none of the fighter jets, none of the helicopters, none of the soldiers. They gonna fly straight to it. Right, we got the best defense army, man, military. Right, Esau think they got like, what's that junk called? A direct missile. The direction
heat seeking missile.
where it can it can see.
Inform their location where
Right.
they at.
Hey, ours, hey, it's beyond this world, man. Right, you guys.
Makes it look like lightning.
And hailstones full of wrath shall be cast out of a stone bow, and the water of the sea shall rage against them, and the floods shall cruelly drown them. Okay.
We got laser blast out of the UFO. I got a precept too. Get Revelation 19 and 19. The Lord is speaking about these different events. You just gotta put it together. Like Ezekiel 38 literally goes into full detail. But these precepts link up with Ezekiel 38 and 2 Ezra 13, all these precepts.
Revelations 19 and 19.
Right?
And I saw the beast,
Right?
and the kings of the earth,
Right, and that beast is representing it's the seven-headed red dragon. It's the European structure. It's the so-called white man. Right, read.
and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse,
Right?
and against his army.
Right, so they're going to try to literally attack Yahweh. Right, read.
And the beast was taken,
Right?
and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast,
Right?
and them that worshipped his image.
Right?
These both were cast alive into a lake of burning with brimstone.
It's like a lake of fire.
A lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Right, so that's how you know this lake of fire isn't a place underground called hell. It's literally representing this chariot blast and destruction upon the nation, right? Which is reminiscent of the first wilderness, because the nation, right, they go attack us after deliverance, after the plagues. It's the same exact thing, right? Even in the wilderness, the Lord, we only ate manna in the wilderness. Right, the Lord fed us with manna in the wilderness. We, can't think of a precept on hand if the brother can pull one.
Wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah.
Wisdom of Solomon 16, 21.
All right, bring that out. I got
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 16 and verse 21, and it reads thus.
All right.
For thy sustenance declare thy sweetness unto thy children, and serving to the appetite of the eater, tempered itself to every man's liking. Verse 20. Instead whereof thou feddest thine own people with angels' food,
Right.
and didst send them from heaven bread prepared without their labor, able to content every man's delight, and agreeing to every taste.
You see, I agree to everybody's taste, right? So the manna, it tasted like something good to you, and you didn't have to labor for it. But guess what? They still complain about the manna, man. They said our soul loatheth this light bread. Went the hell off, man.
So I just want to make this known. You know, the manna is not what the angels eat in the heavens. It just comes from the sky.
Right, kind of.
Just to clarify that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The angels don't have to eat. The Most High don't have to. You read about that in Psalms 50. He said, if I was hungry, I wouldn't tell you.
Bring it on.
Just get Psalms 50.
If I was hungry, I wouldn't tell. Most are so mighty, man.
Get Psalm chapter 50 and verse
I'm dealing with hunger.
start at verse 12.
Psalms chapter 50 verse
Start at
12.
11. Start at 11.
Psalms chapter 50 and verse 11, it reads
Start
thus.
at 10. It's like,
Psalms chapter 50 and verse 10, and it reads thus. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I know all the fowls of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell thee, for the world is mine, and the fullness thereof.
But the Lord don't get hungry. But if he was, he wouldn't tell you. Because he don't. You got it.
Will I eat the flesh of bulls, or drink the blood of goats? Offer unto Yahweh thanksgiving, and pay thy vows unto the Most High.
That's it on that.
All right, another precept. Psalm 78 and verse 23.
Book of Psalms chapter 78 and verse 23, and it reads thus.
Right?
Though he had commanded the clouds from above, and opened the doors of heaven, and had rained down manna upon them to eat, and had given them of the corn of heaven. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full.
You said he sent them meat to the full. So we ate all throughout, and that's all we ate in the wilderness was this manna.
And it wasn't until we started complaining when the Lord jacked us up and we wasn't really eating. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man.
And that was only a trial. You know.
So I say that to say it's gonna be reminiscent in the wilderness. We're gonna eat the Leviathan, right? Let's go. That's what the Lord gonna feed us in the wilderness. Let's get 2 Ezra, right? The 6th chapter, right? Let's prove that. So in the first wilderness we was eating manna.
That's right.
And the second wilderness, he's going to actually feed us Leviathan. So Jake can't complain in the wilderness like, damn, I want some chicken, Lord. And you going off, man. The Lord gave you what he's gonna give you. Like your second Ezra chapter 6. It's like in verse number 52.
Book of 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 52, and it reads thus.
Right?
But unto Leviathan thou gavest the seventh part, namely the moist,
Right, he gave Leviathan to rule over the waters. Right, read.
and has kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt and when.
Right, so he said he kept him to be devoured of whom thy wilt and when. Right, because it's a certain set of time period where the Lord is going to have the Leviathan be devoured. This Psalm 74, verse 14.
Book of Psalms, chapter 74 and verse 14, and it reads thus.
Right?
Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces, and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness.
Right, that's plain, so he gonna give them for meat to those people inhabiting the wilderness. Right, now some people say, do you have any precepts or anything? But no, I was going to a whole nother thing.
You can go to Ezekiel 20:37. All the things that we read to you, even in the beginning of Israel getting blessed and the Lord trying them, he's going to do the same thing in the new wilderness. He's going to try you. Why you running right off that counts? Israel, I'm thirsty. I want water. hey, the Lord, he's going to give you some water. And he's going to try you, put you through the fire. You know, next thing you know, Jake going to say, what do you think? Oh, we're hungry. The Lord's going to give us bread. But it's going to come to a certain point in time where the Lord's just going to be like, all right, look, it's like this. And you got to get down with the program or, you know, walk into the sunset and be destroyed.
So like I have a quick point. They think that the Lord is like a genie. Like the Lord just do whatever he want they ask him for them to do. You know what I'm saying? Like if Jake asks, oh I want this, I don't want that, they just think that the Lord just gotta give him it.
Like he gonna move on your time.
Yeah. Israel's getting spoiled, man. You got it. Or I don't want to use the word spoiled because it was getting blessed and they didn't really acknowledge it.
Book of Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse, what verse did you want? I don't know.
37.
Verse 37, and it reads thus.
35.
35, and it reads thus. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
That's Yahweh pleading with us face to face. Go ahead.
Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt.
Right.
So,
This is plain upon tables, right? As it was in the ancient world. Go ahead.
so will I plead with you, saith the Lord Yahweh. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
What does it mean to pass under the rod? He's going to have a rod and y'all just kind of walk under it, kind of limbo, kind of lower and lower it. But he's going to try you. Because when you have sheep in the ancient world having cattle, you need a rod and a wooden, I forgot what to call it, a wooden staff that curves. It's curved like that so you can grab the neck of the sheep. And use the rod for what? For correction. He's going to correct a lot of them. Right? And if you can't accept that correction, hey, you're done. You're finished. Because, real quick, go to Proverbs 27 and 23. You got it.
I just want to make that quick point. That's why I say in Psalms, thy rod and thy staff comfort you.
Yep.
Psalms 23.
So David was comforted within the affliction and trials that he went through. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why he said in Psalms 26, judgment, O Lord, try my reins.
And that's what the Lord gonna do. He gonna plead. That don't mean he gonna beg us.
Right.
Come into the wilderness, baby. I love you. No, the Lord he gonna get on us, man.
Right.
You know,
Book of
judge
Proverbs chapter 20.
It's like,
obviously he's gonna judge our people and see who's gonna be chosen to get to the kingdom.
right, verse.
Yeah.
Book of Proverbs chapter 27 verse 23. Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds.
And that's what Yahweh is doing in the wilderness. He's going to look well to his flock. And he's going to know the state of it. You got to understand, not every sheep is a good sheep. Right? Certain sheep, they just got diseases. They can't be amongst the body. They got to get put down. They got to get slaughtered and just disposed of. Not every sheep that you see in the big videos, not all of them are clean. Not all of them are good. You know, as you have one bad apple in the bunch, you have one bad sheep amongst the flock. Go ahead.
verse.
Right, I was it on that. Right. The point is this. You can bring out Psalms 27. He said, "I ride at thy staff." That's what it was.
23.
23. That thy ride and thy staff, it comforts you. If that's not comforting to you, then you hate correction. You're not gonna take it too far. You got it.
23 to 1.
4.
Yea, book of Psalms, chapter 23 and verse 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff.
It's like you serve verse 1.
Fact. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Right, you shouldn't want any damn thing. And also, really, you're not going to lack anything. And in the ancient world, it's like in the wilderness, the first wilderness, we wasn't lacking for real. In all honesty, we weren't lacking. Yeah.
Clothes was getting old. The Lord was dealing with us. We building up our own kingdom. The heathens was afraid of us. We was together with our people. We seen the Lord.
The chariots,
We seen the chariots.
Jake scoffed.
You got everything that man could wish that they had
That's a
now.
whole vacation. You gotta work.
Yeah, you don't. They really have to work like that, man.
Yeah, that's
You gotta work for the white man in captivity.
Yeah.
They couldn't appreciate their blessings, man.
That's
why
what
when the Lord bless you in this society, you can't say, "Oh, okay, so." You gotta thank the Lord with all your might and consider the things that you have. You got it.
Verse 2. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures.
Right. He maketh me to lie down. Now I kind of choose. No, he made me to lie down. Sometimes I tell eat sheep, and he maketh us to lie down in a green pastures. Go ahead.
He leadeth me beside the still waters.
See how this shepherd is being righteous and leading the sheep, considering the flock. And he brings them by the still waters to drink. He did this in the ancient world. Right? The first wilderness. Right? Go ahead.
He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
They comfort you. Go ahead.
Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil.
So like, and that's how David had to get his kingdom established. He had to go through the wilderness. You read about that in 1 Samuel. You had to go through trials and tribulations in order for him to get his kingdom established and being the king.
And
Excellent.
guess what? Israel, they complained in 3 days for not eating in the wilderness. Did David complain when he was in the wilderness for 3 days, hiding in the cave? Like, he went up to the priest, yo, what you got? And he ate well. Jake, you complained for 3 days. You gotta be like David in this thing. He didn't complain. Say it is what it is, man. Jacob slept on a rock.
You gotta fast.
Hey man, you gotta be mighty in this thing through the spirit. You know.
He did sleep on the rock.
Yeah.
He slept on the rock, man.
Gee, I'm cold. Brother, sleep on a rock. Man, talk to us.
He said, surely God
No
is in this
blanket.
place. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No blanket, no
He got
tip.
Jake's so busy complaining about everything. That's why we said it earlier. Jake, you're pampered. You're pampered. If I'm hungry, I'll call Happy's. If I'm going through it, I'll call the lawyer. You know, any inconvenience I can call somebody. Fix this, do that. Jake, you got it easy, man.
Unemployment gonna drop, man. I got
Yeah. Unemployment come in, kind of relax, kind of sit back, kick up the feet.
Jay coming.
Food stamps. You got it, brother.
Ain't no scamming out there in the woods either. You can't go scam something.
My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.
He said my cup running over, man. I got more than what I need. Go ahead.
And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
See that? You go back to Ezekiel 20 and 35. So you gotta acknowledge your blessings now. If you can't acknowledge your blessings now, you're not gonna acknowledge it in the wilderness. You're not gonna appreciate it. Go ahead.
Book of Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 35, and it reads thus. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
Right?
like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Lord Yahweh. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
He's gonna correct us, and he's gonna drag us into the bond of the covenant. But not everybody's gonna be, not everybody wants that. Some people, they don't like correction. Other people don't like direction. And that's what the staff is for. It's like the staff is for direction, and a rod is for correction. Got it.
Verse 38, and I will purge out from among you the rebels. And I will purge out from among you the rebels.
You saw Babylon get blown in feather wings. You saw your enemies die. You saw that racist white so-called boss you had to work with. You saw him get torn asunder by the beast. You saw the chariots blow off the missiles. You saw other fantastic miracles in Jacob's trouble and how the Lord delivered you and how this happened. You heard the accounts from brothers and sisters, and you see how God face to face, and you're still gonna murmur. You're still gonna say, "Remember McDonald's, brother? Remember GameStop?
And some people be like, where the white man at?
Yeah, Jake, we're gonna say that. Where the white man?
What if you the white man?
I ain't in second in command.
Then why I'm not second in command?
Yeah, they ain't gonna like the rank or order.
Because Yahweh's gonna establish. That's why we'll always say, Jake, hey man, if you complain about it now, you're gonna complain about it in the kingdom. It's like in the wilderness.
Yahweh, I thought you was.
Yeah.
They gonna be scoffing like, why am I not Peter?
Yeah.
Why am I
I
not
want
John?
to be Peter Christ. I want to be
You
Peter.
tell me the whole time I'm a regular person.
Why am I not David?
Not stood out there in the cold. You need to tell me.
They tell me I'm just, why am I Dan?
Yeah, Jake gonna, a lot of Jake gonna complain about being Dan. They're gonna walk through those gates bitterly. They might not walk
I
through.
thought I was Judah. Top trial, fourth trial.
They were like,
Why am I not a
I've seen
Jew?
brothers do that too.
Oh,
I've seen brothers do that, man.
they were just like,
They're gonna be ashamed. They're gonna be like,
Yeah, So, hey, if you complain about the order and how the Lord set up things today in this society, if you complain about the blessings, you will do it in the wilderness. I say that you were going to do it in the wilderness.
it's like this another to even explain more on our point. Get Hosea 20:18. Because there's really no point in really complaining. You don't got to deal with a lot of stuff.
No more taxes, no more bills. Esau debt collectors. You don't got to worry about Esau telling you and driving you to work. You don't got to worry about none of that. They still want to complain.
I'm just complaining with the Lord, bro. Like, that's madness, bro.
Book of Hosea, chapter 2 and 18. And in that day will I make a covenant for them with the beast of the field.
With the what?
With the beast of the field.
So we don't even have to be dealing with, our people hate mosquitoes. In the first wilderness, we have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? But in the second wilderness, we don't have to deal with that. Right, bring it up.
And with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely. And I will betroth thee unto me forever. Yea, I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness, and in judgment, and in loving kindness, and in mercies.
And you read about that in Job as well. Job 20 on down to 24. Yeah, so it's like Job 5 and 20. 5 and 20 on down to 24. About the beast of the field, us getting that covenant. So we ain't gonna have to deal with a lot of that, in the wilderness.
I kind of miss getting that. Yeah, whatever the Lord bless you, you're going to complain about that specific. You're going to do it. Yeah, the water is sweet, but it's not Kool-Aid. It's not Fago. It's not Burners. Everything that you could possibly think of.
There goes
is
sauce.
I need to burp y'all outside.
Ain't no shower.
Right, ain't no
Anytime I gotta take a bath.
Where the burgers at? 5 guys.
They gonna scoff about something.
I'm trying to make a man a burger.
Yeah, man, a burger.
Where's the ranch?
I don't have enough power for it. Hey, man. Hey, see this?
You gonna be scoffing?
What about
It's too hot for a dress.
Hey, that's
shorts.
a lot of those, we bring it out a lot. Damn. Like you see in Isaiah 4:1, 7 women shall take hold to one man, right? And a man, you know, you're gonna make it out of here and be a man. And, you know, you have to understand. Bring out Isaiah 4:1. We're gonna prove all things.
That's that spirit we say in the damn Jacob's trouble where Jake got to kick in the door. You got a damn shotgun on his shoulder. Seven women like, come follow me. And they go, they follow you.
It was fun, man.
Go grab all the goods.
Does that mean they all gonna, you know, make it in the wilderness? No, because a lot of them
Don't
complain. They're gonna murder.
Right, they ain't gonna know nothing.
But they still made it through, you know, through the house of the man. And they tell you that's what happened with Cornelius. You know, his whole household made it through him. There's no telling if his family was wicked or not. But they still made it through him. You got it.
Book of Isaiah chapter 4 verse 1, and it reads thus. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man.
Right now, that 7 could be 3, 2, but 7 we know is perfection. Right, they're gonna want to lie down because they know in Jacob's trouble in those days, the only way to, like, you know, really be secured is through Jacob. Go ahead.
It's like, and when you read from the 3rd chapter in this, it tell you about the pride of Eve. This is like them fools getting humble. They gonna lose all that stuff, and then they gotta go with a man to be with all these other women. They got to. They gonna be caught out there and get raped by some white man this big, get eaten by some Hamite, get torn by some lion.
He might put you in captivity.
Something gonna happen, so they gonna have to be humble to the full extent.
And that's a good point, because that's how the Lord going. It's in that same verse, in that same chapter, that the Lord gonna change the daughter of Zion's spirit.
Yeah.
Right through fire. You know what I'm saying? So you either have to go through that with a man of the Lord, or you're gonna go through that thermonuclear fire.
And certain Eve, Eve isn't mentally already prepared to, like, well, I got a sister wife, cool. A lot of Eves are not mentally prepared for that. They're not, you know, they don't really think about that. They don't want to think about the jealous spirit, right? That jealous spirit. But guess what? In Jacob's trouble, that situation where we're saying that's going to become reality. They're going to have to deal with it.
What can you say?
And if they don't like it, you know,
Let her die?
Yeah.
Let her die. I'm supposed to let this sister just die?
That's all.
You might this is shit.
You gotta deal
You
with
know, a
it.
lot of sisters, they're gonna be destroyed just for sake of muscle wives, man.
Yep.
That's all.
And they can get things done together and brought in the wilderness, and then they still hate it. They still scarf it.
I can't deal with this. I don't want to be with you. You don't have another wife. Go ahead. Go ahead and go be. You don't be destroyed.
See that?
Damn, man.
So we
All
gonna-
the ones that's gonna rebel.
That's heavy, man.
I'd rather go marry somebody else.
That's a law. That's a law. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead. Oh, go back to Ezekiel 35. The 20, 35. Wherever you left off.
I was in Isaiah. Oh, we're on. Yeah. All right.
Go back to
Oh, you said it.
Ezekiel 20 and 37.
it out.
Book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, and verse 37, and it reads thus. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am the Lord.
And you're not gonna make it through that final test. You know, you're not gonna make it, man. You gotta deal with it.
Should we get the location of second?
Nah, we can get the location.
That's right.
Goes up. It's a wood, you know, that's what one thing I was gonna transition. So people are gonna, you know, folks might say, hey, we going to South Africa,
Peru.
we going to Peru, or we go be in hell, the second wilderness is down in Florida. Who knows
My backyard.
what people would say, right? But the second wilderness tells you, I mean, the scriptures tell you the locale of the second wilderness. Get Jeremiah 50, verse 18. Get Jeremiah 50 and 18.
Book of Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 18, and it reads thus.
Right?
Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts,
Right?
the God of Israel,
Right.
behold, I will punish the king of Babylon in his land, as I have punished the king of Syria.
Right. This is a double-fold precept. Right? He's going to destroy America. Right? Read on.
And I will bring Israel again to his
He's
habitation,
going to bring Israel to his habitation. Read.
and he shall feed on Carmel in Bashan,
Right. Carmel and Bashan. Read.
And his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead.
Right, Gilead, Ephraim, Carmel, Bashan. Where are all these places located? They're in northern Israel. Right, and you notice isn't talking about this actual time period because you actually have Sumerians dwelling in Israel, at northern Israel. So it's talking about the future prophecy. Right, they're going to be in northern Israel. That's where the second wilderness will be. I got another one. Get book of Zechariah chapter 10. I get Zechariah chapter 10 and verse 9.
Zechariah chapter 10 and verse 9, and it reads thus.
Right?
And I will sow them among the people, and they shall remember me in far countries.
Right, the Lord gonna sow us among the people. We're gonna bethink ourselves and remember him, right?
And they shall live with their children and turn again.
Right, we're gonna turn to the Lord again, right?
I will bring them again also out of the land of Egypt,
Right?
and gather them out of Assyria.
Like Egypt and Assyria, these represent captivity for Israel. Read.
And I will bring them into the land of Gilead.
Right, that's Gilead. You'll bring us to Gilead. You mentioning that again. That's in northern Israel. Right, read.
In Lebanon, and place shall not be found for them.
Right, it's gonna be so many of us. It's gonna be hard for us to all to dwell in this area. But you got Lebanon, Carmel, Gilead. This is all northern Israel. Right, matter of fact, somebody need to hop on the we can show this. Right, show this in Google Maps. Right, this is all in northern Israel. That's where we're gonna be dwelling. Right, 2217. Pull that up. Right, go to Google Images. Let's pull this thing up. Right, look up Carmel. Let's try to get a map of Israel, really. Type in map of Israel. Let's see if we can find something. Type in Carmel, Gilead, but I mean keep that in there, but just type Carmel after it. Alright. But I can see one with Lebanon. Scroll down. Sorry to find all these locations, might pop up different maps. Right, there go one right there.
This one?
Yeah. Mount Carmel is right there. That's in by the Kishon River. This is northern Israel. Right. Exit out of there. Go scroll up. Go to Lebanon. Type in Lebanon. All right, that's right above Israel. You got Carmel, Bashan. Right, Bashan is the first place that Ephraim, Manasseh, and Gad they attack. Right. You see, Lebanon is right above Israel. See that? Lebanon, right above Israel, all that northern area. Click in Bashan. Right? Bashan was literally the landmass of either half Manasseh, Reuben, and Gad. Okay. Yeah, Gad. See that? I think it's that red part right there. So that's right by Syria, right by Lebanon, all in the same area, northern Israel. You won't find the wilderness being mentioned at any other locations of northern Israel.
You got the map of Israel.
Yeah, Micah chapter 7, verse 14.
That's right.
Before that.
Book of Micah chapter 7 and verse 14, and it reads thus. Feed thy people with thy rod, the flock of thine heritage, which dwells solitarily in the wood, in the midst of Carmel. Let them feed in Bashan, in Gilead, as in the days of old.
See that? As in the days of old. What days of old? Ancient wilderness.
Also,
Oh, you got it. You got it.
you can make your point first.
Oh.
I was gonna go into the precept.
I had precept too.
Oh, well, my point was also like we was getting out of our our forefathers was getting from the boat, the Noah's Ark, we went to the Garden of Eden. You know what I'm saying? And that's a prophecy because the Lord said, you know, when you go into the prophecy, the Lord will destroy Israel. You're gonna cleanse it again so you can make it like the Garden of Eden. That's my point.
Gilead, Bashan. And then right over here, by the land of Canaan, that little corner, that was Mount Carmel. So it's all northern Israel. Above that is Lebanon. It's all northern Israel.
Got a lot of rivers over here. You know?
Yeah, that's the Christian River right there coming out of Jordan, right by the land of Canaan.
So Jake complained about water, man. Here's the breakdown. We're gonna have water over here, man.
Mountains. It's a mountainous hill country, Jerusalem.
So don't complain.
The best land to ever be in.
Yeah.
That's the home.
Fortified.
You get Isaiah 51 and 4 from me. Sure.
Yeah, precept.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 51 and verse 4, and it reads thus. Hearken unto me, my people, and give ear unto me, O my nation, for a law shall proceed from me.
Start at verse 2.
Verse 2. Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah that bare you. For I called him alone, and blessed him, and increased him. For the Lord shall comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places, and he will make her wilderness like Eden.
So the Lord, He's gonna destroy in World War III. He's gonna destroy Israel. He's gonna hit it with nukes. Those fake bastards in that land, they're gonna get wiped out. And then the Lord gonna slowly in the wilderness. That's gonna be the building process of us getting kingdom. So it's gonna slowly start looking like Eden. You know, that's right. You got it.
Hey, now, Israel, they didn't have the book of Moses. They didn't have they didn't have the law like that. They had it, but not like all compacted together like that. They want to read, what I'm saying is they didn't have the whole Bible in their hands. They didn't know, okay, for sure this is going to happen. They didn't know for sure that's going to happen. We know for surety this is going to happen. Bring out Isaiah 32 and 16.
That's so lucky. But they did have, in that one example, when the Lord delivered Noah.
Yeah, they had Noah.
That's
They kind of had the tradition they
how
knew.
the Lord, how the Lord flooded the earth. They knew about that. And after that, he replenished the earth.
So how much more
For us, we don't know.
all these mighty, this sandwich right here. Bring it out.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 32 and verse 14. You said 14? 16. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field.
Judgment's going to dwell in wilderness. It's not going to be a playpen. You playing whatever you want. Shooting up 21. Go ahead.
Could be hooping in it.
Alley-oop into Moses. Yo, trying to cross up Isaiah. You know, then him sitting on the bench, he ready to play.
You Isaiah? I'm about to crush you.
Yeah. It ain't gonna work out like judgment.
Strange, no strange.
I got a shot.
Oh, you're like, no, I can help shot. No, cash
Yeah, I
out.
was talking like, no, I'm the alternative. What they call it?
Official.
Yeah, the
Referee.
artificial.
Referee.
Oh, quarterback.
No, Moses is gonna be he gonna be the
The
judge
judge.
and the ref.
You know,
That's off, man. Throwing the ball like, hey, yo.
yeah. We got stuff to do and things to take care of. That's why I say
Tell Amos
judgment.
that you go 5 sessions, but slant to the left and
Right.
Israel versus the heathens.
Not only do we gotta get the nation in order, we gotta get the earth in order, and we gotta get our nation in order.
Yeah, it's gonna be judgment on the word.
It's gonna be a lot.
That's right. It's not a playpen, man. Bring it up.
Verse 17. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness quietness, and assurance forever.
Go ahead.
And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation.
The peaceable. So, and guess what? Israel's going to complain. Go ahead.
And in sure dwellings, and in shore dwellings, and in quiet resting places.
He's telling you you're going to be straight. You're going to be good. And Israel, they're going to complain. Go ahead.
They ain't gonna be thinking about that, bro.
When it shall hail, coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place.
It's like you're on a where? On a forest. Stop thinking the desert is just all a desert. It's like the wilderness is all a desert. A wilderness can be a forest.
Like, yeah,
Go ahead.
it's a decimal.
And the city shall be low in a low place. Blessed are ye that sow beside all waters, that send forth thither the feet of the ox and the ass.
So we're gonna have animals. Go ahead.
Chapter 33, verse 1. Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled.
All right, I was in it. I had one more. But I got a lot, but time with fellas. Go to Isaiah 29:17.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 17, and it reads thus. Is it not yet a very little while, and Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field?
The Lord's gonna tell you what he's gonna do to Lebanon. It's gonna become a fruitful field. This is the wilderness. We're gonna be in Lebanon. It's gonna be nice. Pomegranates, oranges, pineapples, fresh off the tree.
And they ain't gonna be small GMO pomegranates.
Yeah.
You read about that in the first wilderness where they had grapes. 2 men had to carry the big cluster of grapes, man.
You're not gonna see Esau spraying a pesticide kind of right now.
Right.
No, it's gonna be nice. You got it.
Verse, reading on,
To a fruitful field.
into a fruitful field, and be fruitful, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed as a forest. And in the day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. The meek also shall increase their joy in the Lord, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel.
A certain people that are making it in the wilderness, they didn't have that much of an idea. There's a little of it. Then now it's gonna increase. Oh, I get it now. Go ahead.
For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off.
See that? Go ahead.
Damn, that show you we don't know everything. Maybe see through a glass.
That-
right? You right.
Verse 21, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught.
So that's still that. But the point is, throughout Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, you can learn about the wilderness. You gotta read. You gotta know what you're reading pretty much. Stop thinking everything is in this time period of
That's
Isaiah.
right.
Everything in this time period of Jeremiah. This is a book of prophecies. You're gonna read about prophecies.
I got one quick
Where I
precept.
got close precepts.
I got one quick precept. 2 Peter's 1:19.
Book of Second Peter, chapter 1 and verse 19, and it reads thus. We have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto ye do well that ye take heed, as unto a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star arise in your heart.
That's going to us, having a more sure word of prophecy. Like, that's why the brother brought that out. Right? We got all these different books, and we can read and visualize what's going to happen. I got a closing precept. It's Psalm 72, verse 9. It's going to Yahweh Shah. It says, they that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lift the dust. Right? So we're going to be bowing before Yahweh Shah in the wilderness. Right? Reverencing him as the King of Kings in this thing. Right? Which they got to deal with, man. You got to bow to Yahweh Shah, the King of Kings, man.
Don't it say let's kiss the sun, let God be angry with you?
That's on the whole shot.
That,
You bring out 2 Nephilim 13 to 13. That's my second one. That's losing.
You said second address.
13 to 13.
Book of Second Esdras, chapter 13, verse 13, and it reads thus. And there came much people unto him, whereof some were glad,
Right, this is where they meet at Yahweh. Some going to be glad.
some were sorry.
Some like, oh, they're going to see the Lord. I'm like, oh, man, he's the one that died for my sins. I can't believe I did all my sins in the world. And, oh, God. Go ahead.
And some of them were bound.
Hey, some going to be bound because they're going to lick up the dust. Which is right. They're going to be bound up just looking at Yahweh. Yeah. Go ahead.
and other some brought of them that were offered. Then was I sick
Right
through
here,
great.
Lord. Go ahead.
Then was I sick through great fear, and I awaked and said, Thou hast shewed thy servant these wonders from the beginning.
See, I was in that. You know, Ezra only got a glimpse of that. You know what happened afterwards? Nobody really knows. Yahweh could have said, "Come here, my footstool," to the servant. Could have said, "Come here, my sheep, and give me a hug." There's no telling. Ezra got a little blips here, a little there, a little. It's so much going on. You know, you go to second, it's like Sirach 35:5. My closing precept.
Book of Sirach, chapter 35 and verse 5.
And mind you, that what we just read, that was in the second wilderness. Go ahead.
For all these things are to be done because of the commandment.
Right?
The offering of the righteous maketh the altar fat, and the sweet savor thereof is before the Most High.
Right, so you have to make the altar fat before the Heavenly Father. You have to throw up the prayers, right? The fruit of your lips, as it said in Hosea 14:2, you know, Hebrews 13:15. You know, you have to Psalms 144:1. You have to throw up your prayers before the Lord. You have to present all your works before the Heavenly Father. You should be overflowing with works. All your alms, your charity, your deeds. Go ahead.
So, I was going
This will be
it's still in Sirach 35? Book of Sirach, chapter 35 and verse 7. The sacrifice of a just man is acceptable, and the memorial thereof shall never be forgotten. Give the Lord his honor. Give the Lord his honor.
You gotta give the Lord his honor now. Go ahead.
With a good eye, and diminish not the first fruits of thine hands.
If you diminish the first fruit of your hands, kind of hold the back part like they did in the book of Acts. Was that the 5th chapter? You holding the back part. You gotta be selfish with the Lord. You being a nigger. Hey, the Lord gotta eat. Go ahead. That's right.
In all thy gifts, shew a cheerful countenance, and dedicate thy tithes with gladness.
See that? You show your gifts, you know, like give things before the Lord. Hey, why the Heavenly Father? This is all before you. So with that, I'm gonna finish with Shalom. Israel's been edified through the Spirit of Yahweh. Shalom. Shalom. Shalom.